A few days quickly passed. After we leave, the southern tribe will be under martial law, and no unidentified powerful beings are allowed to enter or exit. If there's any unusual movement, immediately crush the spatial scroll I gave you and take everyone to hide. Understood? On a spacious plaza in the southern tribe, Little E continuously instructed Lena by her side, making these arrangements for the final step. Okay. Lena nodded. She naturally understood the gravity of the situation. To prevent any unnecessary complications, only Little E and the two others would head out on this journey. This is a unicorn, a rare spiritual beast among the elves. Second brother, let's go. Little E led a unicorn over and waved at Xiao. The unicorn was gentle, its form resembling a white horse with a solid and sacred spiral horn on its forehead. Its entire body radiated a noble and pure aura, bringing a warm feeling to anyone nearby. Don't worry too much. At this moment, Xiao didn't offer much support to Little E because he had noticed this guy's rate of growth was somewhat terrifying. Let's go. Waving his hand again, the three of them mounted the unicorn and instantly vanished into the void, beginning their important journey into the Fire Spirit Clan's territory. To the north of the Heavenly Sea, the headquarters of the Fire Spirits. The Elven Sacred Altar and Elven Lake were sacred sites of the Fire Spirit Clan, and the destination for this competition was located at the Elven Sacred Altar. The Elven Sacred Altar stood at the highest peak in the entire Heavenly Sea, towering into the clouds. Throughout countless ages, it had always served as the venue for the Fire Spirit Clan's various coronation ceremonies and duels. Due to the stability of this place's space, even beings at the second or third reincarnation level couldn't break through its void. The name, Sacred Altar, originated from the ancient fire spirit goddess, Yao Ji. It is said that before the Heavenly Sea was unified, it was fragmented, and there were originally 12 witch mountains. The first of these mountains was called Goddess Peak, standing in the center of the 12 mountains. Its lush green, elegant, and towering form resembled a young maiden, who gazed towards the other 11 mountains, constantly absorbing their elemental energy. One day, a mysterious girl emerged from Goddess Peak. Pure-hearted and beautiful, her presence resonated throughout the land, and her body exuded a unique fragrance. Her power was unprecedented, and she single-handedly swept through countless elves in the 12 Witch Mountains, causing all the elves in this world to bow to her. The Witch Mountain goddess, named Yao Ji, was born from this legend. It is said that she was the embodiment of nature, the leader of the elves. Yet, no one knew her true origins, and there were no concrete records to verify it. However, according to some vague elven records, after her birth, Yao Ji became proficient in a power unlike anything found in the Great Thousand Worlds. Witchcraft. The power of witchcraft originated from Goddess Peak, from the ancient origins of the celestial realm. The strength of this magic was comparable to forbidden techniques, shrouded in mystery. It was this exclusive power that belonged to Goddess Yao Ji. Yao Ji emerged with overwhelming strength, subdued the arrogant elven races of the 12 Witch Mountains, and then defeated the former rulers of these mountains, the three-headed divine flood dragon. She unified the 12 Witch Mountains and established the vast elven world of the Heavenly Sea, with the fire spirits as the most powerful race. They would go on to lead and protect this realm for generations. The Elven Sacred Altar, said to be the place of Yao Ji's greatest accomplishments, became the site where she meditated and cultivated her witchcraft after uniting the 12 Witch Mountains. After decades of seclusion, she emerged with strength nearing the pinnacle of reincarnation, a force so formidable that even the three-headed divine flood dragon, who had survived 8 heavenly tribulations, did not dare defy her. Her power was such that countless elven creatures could only look up and worship in awe. Later, with the stability of the Heavenly Sea and the prosperity of the elves, Yao Ji, along with the three-headed divine flood dragon, quietly left for the Great Thousand Worlds. It wasn't until the first great battle of heaven and earth that they made their return. The Elven Sacred Altar, deep within the highest mountain range in the Heavenly Sea, was surrounded by lush plants, bird songs, and fragrant flowers, forming a peaceful, idyllic paradise. The altar's summit was as smooth as a polished mirror, with clouds and mist swirling around it, creating a breathtaking scene. This place was a true holy ground for the elven world. At this moment, within the elven sacred altar, many figures had already gathered, including numerous elders from the Fire Spirit clan headquarters, who were fully responsible for overseeing this contest. In just a few days, the entire elven world in the heavenly sea had been stirred up. Facing the current leaders of the elven race, the Fire Spirit election had drawn many high-ranking figures from various other ordinary elven clans, who also rushed to participate. The arrival of the contest day made the once peaceful elven sacred altar exceptionally lively. Figures moved in an orderly fashion from all directions. Although most came with a casual attitude, they knew that after this competition, the Fire Spirit clan would undergo a drastic transformation. With the heat surrounding the elven sacred altar, countless powerful elven beings stood quietly outside the altar, waiting for the approval of the Fire Spirit clan elders before daring to enter. Otherwise, with the formidable strength of these elders, they could easily silence this entire realm with a single gesture, their power as vast as the heavens themselves. Also waiting were the 3 heavyweight figures for this contest. Whoosh! Is someone coming? Some of the more perceptive elven experts, perched among the trees in the forest, noticed a subtle collapse in the void at the forest's edge. The space quickly twisted, and several overwhelming auras burst forth like the blazing sun. Princess Alice of the Western Tribe? And the 2 elders accompanying her. 2 with first-tier reincarnation level strength, and 1 with reincarnation level power. Wow! The Western Tribe actually has such terrifying forces. A collective gasp was heard as the 3 figures stepped out, shattering the void in their wake. Many experts couldn't help but gasp in awe. The Fire Spirit clan's election was mainly driven by the powerful influence of 3 candidates, each rallying their respective forces in the heavenly sea to gain support. So, for them, Alice's ability to gain the assistance of a first-tier reincarnation-level elven expert was not to be underestimated. Looking over, Princess Alice of the Western Tribe wore a light blue gown, with a faint energy veil enveloping her, accentuating her graceful figure. Her long hair fluttered, caught by the noisy wind, while a pale blue crystal necklace on her slender neck exuded an air of elegance. Her skin was as white as snow, and her smile was enchanting, making her appear as if descended from the heavens. Princess Alice was the most hopeful among the 3 candidates. Both in terms of strength and beauty, she stood out as one of the best in the Fire Spirit clan. The Eastern Tribe has arrived as well. Crack! At the moment when the 3 from the Western Tribe broke through the void, a new spatial passage appeared from the forest outside the altar. Princess Qianqin of the Eastern Tribe? Everyone looked up as a melodious tune filled the air. The figure of the princess moved gracefully, her slender waist swaying gently as she seemed to dance to the rhythm of the music, her body moving like a butterfly in the breeze. She appeared exceptionally delicate, her beautiful eyes shimmering with a divine purity. A pink bracelet rested casually on her wrist, accentuating her soft, glowing skin. Her gaze was serene yet occasionally tinged with a trace of melancholy, giving off a sacred aura, one that was both distant and untouchable. Princess Qianqin from the Eastern Tribe. The princess spoke, her sweet smile ever present. Holding a jade zither, she added an air of mystery to her presence. Her green dress fluttered in the wind, her long black hair streaming behind her, creating a breathtakingly beautiful sight. The candidates from the 2 major tribes are now here. The Western Tribe has 2 first-tier reincarnation experts and 1 with reincarnation-level power. But in the Eastern Tribe, there are only 2 reincarnation-level experts accompanying Princess Qianqin, with 1 first-tier reincarnation. Some of the elves who had supported the Eastern Tribe now wore regretful expressions. Clearly, in this election, the visible strength had already decided much of the outcome. Don't worry, the Southern Tribe hasn't arrived yet. A melodious voice echoed through the air, signaling a shift in the atmosphere, which quickly became electrified with excitement. Whoosh! Everyone, sorry to keep you waiting. Lily emerged from the void, flanked by 2 figures, greeting the crowd with a cheerful smile. The 2 behind him were Xiao, who remained silent with a faint smile, and Marvin, the only first-tier reincarnation elder from the Southern Tribe. The Southern Tribe, the weakest of the three major tribes in terms of strength, had always been at the bottom. How could they now have the courage to contend for the position of the next clan leader? As the space passage collapsed, the 9 figures from the 3 major tribes faced each other across the altar. 9 figures stood before them, each radiating an aura as vast and unfathomable as the deep sea. The surrounding elven powerhouses, upon seeing this, couldn't help but feel a faint sense of fear. The 3 great tribes, formed by the 3 electors, already possessed such a terrifying presence. Only a mighty race like the Fire Spirit Clan could command such a formation and display such power. Is that person the human who repelled the chieftain elder of the Western tribe using his 8-star Do Xian strength? Can this human truly possess such terrifying power? Matters of the Fire Spirit Clan should not involve outsiders. This is dangerous. The surrounding elven powerhouses exchanged glances, murmuring among themselves. Deef, is this the human with extraordinary strength you mentioned? With only mid-8-star Do Xian strength, he managed to push you back? This is unprecedented. After a brief pause, a female elven attendant behind Alice spoke, her voice tinged with a hint of disdain, her gaze sweeping over Xiao. 2 at the first-tier reincarnation level, 1 at the peak of reincarnation level. The strength within the Western tribe is indeed extraordinary. However, there seems to be something in this space that the Flame Mantra and Sacred Flame despise. An extraterritorial evil clan? Xiao muttered as his gaze swept over the elven sacred altar. The other 2 electors emitted notable fluctuations of power, but this space seemed to carry an unusual aura. Whether it is or not, you'll have to try it for yourself, Xiao said casually. But as his voice fell, the temperature of the entire world suddenly began to rise. A wave of intense heat began to spread. Just as Ellen, the handmaid, was about to speak, Alice elegantly raised her hand, signaling her to fall silent. Since everyone has arrived, let's take our seats. Suddenly, a long voice echoed through the air, and the previously restless atmosphere fell silent in an instant. 3rd or 4th. This is merely an elder of the Fire Spirit Clan, not even the strongest. It seems there's a reason why the Fire Spirit Clan has become such a colossal force in the Great Thousand Worlds. Xiao thought to himself, astonished. 2nd Elder Marlin, wait, there is something Alice doesn't understand. As the last traces of silvery light faded from the elven sacred altar, and everyone was about to enter, Alice suddenly spoke. What is it? 2nd Elder Marlin, though already aging, still possessed a youthful, beautiful face as she turned to look at Alice. The Fire Spirit Clan's elections are internal matters of our elven race. Now, allowing an outsider to interfere, is that not a bit unreasonable? Alice spoke with a calm voice, but her words were filled with clear prejudice. She said this while the eyes of countless onlookers rested on her. This bastard! Little he muttered inwardly, but seeing the many elven powerhouses present, he refrained from making a scene and merely glared at Alice with a dark expression. Princess Alice is right. This is indeed an internal matter of our elven race, and now a human is involved. As Alice spoke, some elven powerhouses who supported the Western tribe began to speak up in agreement. All right then. I've been sworn brothers with little E since childhood. I've come here solely for him. As for your Fire Spirit Clan's tribal matters, we have no interest in them. Step by step, Xiao walked toward Alice. His dazzling Do Qi began to rise, gradually forming an amber-colored flame, releasing a pure and holy aura. My lord, what is this? Marvin, standing nearby, looked at Xiao in confusion. They had come to contend for the position of the next Fire Spirit Clan leader, yet Xiao actions seemed to be pushing them away. 2nd Elder, you heard that, right? Since Princess Alice believes so, then I suggest you capture this human and wait until the contest is over to make a decision. Alice spoke as if the outcome was already certain, her face always holding a faint smile. If you want me to leave, that's fine. But I ask that the things within Little Yi's reincarnation seal be returned to him in full. Of course, if any of you insist on using force, I, Xiao, the domain lord of the Boundless Fire Domain, am willing to cause a ruckus here. As Xiao words fell, The amber-colored flames soared like a scorching sun, their dazzling light purifying the restless energy within the elven powerhouses. The surging flames scattered everywhere. Under the threat of this flame, even the elven powerhouses at the reincarnation level felt a rare sense of heart-pounding fear. So it's indeed the sacred flame fire. No wonder this guy can sense those hidden things within the clan. Hearing Xiao Yan's provocative words, Second Elder Marlin slightly shook her head, then nodded and looked at Xiao Yan with her beautiful eyes, as if weighing something. Regardless of Xiao Yan's strength or the background behind him, he was not something the Fire Spirit clan would fear, but he definitely shouldn't be underestimated. If anyone else had spoken such words of provocation, they would have been immediately killed by the powerful members of the Elven clan. Second Elder Marlin, this human is clearly attempting to provoke the dignity of our Fire Spirit clan. Please give the order for us to capture him. Outside the Elven sacred altar, numerous powerful figures from the Elven clan glared at Xiao Yan with murderous intent, their voices filled with anger, like thunder echoing in the air. Clearly, hearing Xiao Yan's arrogant words had enraged them. The Fire Spirit clan was so powerful, how could a mere reincarnation-level individual defame them? This is my second brother. If any of you have further objections? Lily spoke at the same time, her chilling killing intent causing the temperature around them to rise sharply. Silence. Let's enter the sacred altar. The competition is about to begin. After a brief pause, Second Elder Marlin shook her head and casually waved her hand. Brilliant energy halos fell, pouring into the sacred altar deep within the forest, starting the ritual. Today's battle, each of you three will only have one chance. The winner will become the next king of our Fire Spirit clan, the loser, regardless of life or death. During the competition, no one is allowed to interfere. Second Elder Marlin's gaze swept over the 9 people standing beside her, as well as the powerful elven figures who had come to witness. Her voice as deep as a mighty bell, shaking the souls of everyone present, the warning clear. Second Elder Marlin, in charge of this competition between the 3 major clans of the Fire Spirit clan, was an incredibly powerful figure. It was said that she was one of the few with the highest authority in the Fire Spirit clan. Yes. The 9 answered in unison, and immediately led the way into the Elven Sacred Altar. The Elven Sacred Altar not only stood at the highest point of the entire heavenly sea, but it was also deep within a serene, picturesque forest, protected by countless thick energy barriers. This was the sacred ground of the Fire Spirit clan, a vast site of thousands of feet, constructed from sacred fire stones of the clan. It was exceedingly holy, and with the presence of the energy barriers, the name Sacred Altar was truly fitting. At the center of the altar, several stone seats were placed for the judges to oversee the fairness of the competition, along with an exceptionally dazzling elven statue, standing quietly in the middle of the altar. Although it was merely a statue, everyone could feel an ancient energy emanating from it, as if the fate of this world lay within its slightest movement. It was the statue of Goddess Yao Ji. Standing in the heart of the sacred altar, the statue symbolized the devout faith all the elves held for Goddess Yao Ji. All decisions and competitions were conducted under her watchful gaze, ensuring fairness. The atmosphere, filled with energy, slowly enveloped this sacred space, signaling that the unseen battle was about to begin in full force. 3 selectors, step forward. You have the chance to draw lots. One of you will advance directly to the final, and the 2 drawn will battle together. Each side will have 3 members. The team with no members left will lose, and the final victor will be crowned king. By the way, if you face Xiao Yan, do not attempt to kill him. Otherwise, the clan rules will apply. Second Elder Marlin elegantly stood before the statue of Goddess Yao Ji. After a slight frown, she added some extra conditions to the rules, as Xiao Yan's words and that amber-colored flame had made her realize that the Fire Spirit clan might still need some of his power. Am I being underestimated? Xiao Yan smiled faintly upon hearing this, though it was expected. After all, the gap between an 8-star Docian and a reincarnation-level expert was as vast as a chasm. Only a few in the Great Thousand Worlds could bridge such a gap in battle. This must be related to that amber-colored flame just now. Some elven figures, though surprised, quickly guessed the connection. They now quietly stood in the center of the sacred altar, waiting for the upcoming, intense competition. The battle ahead would be unprecedented and incredibly fierce. Hurry up. Seeing the three selectors nod in unison, Marlin waved her hand, urging them on. Whoosh! Little E, Princess Alice, and Princess Qianqin, the three selectors, stepped forward and, under the guidance of Second Elder Marlin, began the drawing of lots. What's the result? One of them must have had such good luck to advance directly to the final. The surrounding elven warriors speculated excitedly. The situation is not looking good. Xiao sat arrogantly on a stone seat, his gaze sweeping lazily across the statue of Goddess Yao Ji and the sacred altar space. There seemed to be a faint, subtle dark power slowly emanating from him. When his eyes fell on little E, a vicious, violent aura flickered on his face. Xiao muttered to himself, his smile gradually fading as the cold, murderous aura at the corners of his lips froze the air, as if it were the chill of an ancient, endless ice cave. Second brother. A few minutes later, little E quietly withdrew. However, there was an unusual heaviness in his eyes, a rare seriousness that suggested the lottery result was extremely unfavorable for them. Unfortunately, we've drawn Alice's tribe. Little E's lips were somewhat dry, and the sharpness in his gaze was as fierce as a blade's edge. His eyes were fixed on Alice and her two companions in the distance. The two tribes had fought countless battles, forging a deep, long-standing grudge. And now, their first battle would be against each other. There was no way such hatred wouldn't show. Could it be Princess Qianqin who drew the short straw? Xiao nodded, then suddenly turned his head to look at Princess Qianqin. She was sitting gracefully, gently playing her zither, exuding a serene calmness. But as he looked at her, a tremendous, overwhelming force erupted from his Baxia body, more intense than anything he had ever felt before. I always feel that this person is the biggest obstacle. He scanned around but found nothing else of interest, so he turned his attention back to Alice and her companions. Two were at reincarnation stage, and one at first-tier reincarnation. Such a formidable lineup was enough to make any powerful cultivator treat them with the utmost seriousness. The first round will be fought by me. The voice rang out, and one of Alice's two handmaidens, the elven maid Ellen, stepped forward. Her gaze was filled with murderous intent, and an icy killing aura poured out unabashedly. Second brother, let me go. Little E, tall and handsome, had purple flames flickering around him, and his entire being radiated a rebellious spirit, as if born with an innate arrogance. No, Elder Marvin, you will fight this battle. Xiao Yan's gaze suddenly sharpened, and he turned to the elder behind him. Fine. Let me show you the unruly folk of your western tribe. Ha ha ha. Elder Marvin stepped forward, and the sacred altar's space around him subtly shifted, as a fierce brown flame slowly spread out from him. The first match, Ellen from the western tribe, at reincarnation stage, versus Elder Marvin from the southern tribe, at first-tier reincarnation. A booming voice rang out from second Elder Marlin, and instantly, the energy in the entire realm began to churn, heating up in a rare and intense way. Barrier activate. Second Elder Marlin snorted coldly, swiftly pulling out a silver elven binding stone. He crushed it effortlessly, and ancient, vast power surged out like a tidal wave, filling the sacred altar's empty space. Layer upon layer of dense energy barriers spread out, enveloping everyone within. These energy barriers were powerful enough to withstand intense battles between those at second or third-tier reincarnation. At this moment, the sacred altar appeared as though there were two circles, an inner O protecting the center of the altar, and the outer circle serving as the battleground. Ellen, at reincarnation stage, you'd better concede now. The difference between reincarnation and first-tier reincarnation is like a vast chasm that cannot be crossed. Elder Marvin, dressed in gray robes adorned with faint brown flame patterns, stood confidently within the energy barrier. He addressed Ellen with undisguised arrogance, his voice dripping with certainty. The deer won't be caught without a fight. Let's begin. Ellen ignored his words, her eyes flashing with provocation. At the same time, ancient and mysterious brown flames began to swirl around her, forming a massive sea of fire 100 yards wide. Her body stood in the heart of this firestorm, and there seemed to be something subtly stirring within the flames. What is that? Xiao Yin and Little E held their breath, watching the battle closely. They noticed that within the sea of fire, there was something vaguely visible, exuding a special energy. It was a stone, seemingly ordinary, yet with a faint blue hue. Embedded in the stone was a feather, as though it were sealed within, radiating an overwhelming aura. A witch artifact? How could this be? Little Yi's handsome face darkened, an expression of discomfort creeping in, distorting his features. The fire spirit tribe cultivates flame energy that originates from the heavenly sea, a force far more powerful than ordinary heavenly flames. There are countless legends surrounding this flame, and through it, powerful beings from the fire spirit tribe have gained rare opportunities to glimpse Goddess Yao Ji's supreme witchcraft and power. I didn't expect Ellen, at reincarnation stage, to be so fortunate. Lord Little E muttered to himself, though it seemed more like an explanation directed at Xiao Yin regarding the reasons behind it. Don't worry, just watch. Xiao Yin nodded indifferently, his eyes gleaming with a ferocity akin to an enraged tiger lurking in wait. Once it struck, it would likely unleash a true storm. A witch artifact, huh? It's only imbued with a trace of Goddess Yao Ji's power. Against absolute power, you don't stand a chance. Marvin's gaze landed on the intense, energy-churning cyan stone within Ellen's firestorm. His internal power surged suddenly, clearly indicating that he was not holding back. Otherwise, once Ellen fully activated the artifact, it would undoubtedly drain more of his energy in the process. The power of a witch artifact is comparable to that of an immortal artifact in the Great Thousand Worlds, but it's still far from enough to threaten a reincarnation-level expert. However, the power of the witch artifact shouldn't be underestimated. After all, it carried even a fraction of Goddess Yao Ji's divine strength. The power of all the strong members of the elven race is intrinsically tied to Yao Ji, making such an artifact both a rare treasure and a difficult weapon to deal with for elven experts. Are you afraid too? Ellen smiled faintly, her reincarnation power within her body activating perfectly. One slender, jade-like hand pressed against her chest, and she struck down mercilessly. Fresh blood spilled from the corners of her cold mouth, which she gathered and clenched in her palm. Coupled with the brown flames wrapping around her, she hurled it directly towards the witch artifact. Truly daring. Feeling Ellen's desperate, life-risking attack, Marvin's reincarnation power became heavy, as if an enormous mountain, weighing tens of thousands of tons, had been placed on his body. Marvin, you've lost all sense of right and wrong and are aiding the evil. Today, I will take Princess Alice's place and slay you. Azure Witch Feather. Ignoring her weakening state, Ellen's lips curled into a frantic smile. Her blood and the cyan stone intertwined tightly, creating a cyan energy aura. It expanded outwards like a small black hole vortex, releasing terrifying fluctuations in every direction. The shockwaves were likely strong enough to obliterate any reincarnation-level expert. Well done. Marvin's laughter thundered like a roaring storm, and immediately, when Ellen's seemingly unstoppable black hole vortex attack neared him, the air was filled with piercing, sharp wind sounds. Looking up, a massive brown fire chain, 1,000 feet long, crackled with an overwhelming, suffocating aura. It surged with a nearly destructive force, viciously smashing through Ellen's attack. Boom, boom, boom. This level of attack caused Ellen, already weakened, to flinch, and she realized that even with the witch artifact's power, she stood no chance against Marvin in his current enraged state. This guy does have some backbone. Xiao Yan's gaze swept across the sky, following the brown fire chain to Marvin. His expression was cold, his pupils icy. A chilling, murderous intent radiated from him, as Ellen's body and strength were slowly being devoured by Marvin. Whoosh whoosh. Crack. The brown fire chain, with its sharp and relentless force, tore through Ellen's defenses in an instant. Without mercy, Marvin's ruthless methods knocked Ellen unconscious, finally sending her flying out of the sacred altar space and kicking her towards the Western faction's members. At this moment, the entire arena fell into dead silence. Although there was a considerable power gap between the two, the speed and decisiveness of the battle were astonishing. Who could have imagined that in the first battle of the Southwest tribes, Ellen, armed with a witch artifact, would be so easily overpowered and killed? Although the rules of the competition specified that life and death were not to be considered, Marvin didn't directly kill Ellen. He did this to warn other elven experts with ill intentions. Now, Ellen was on the brink of death, her body racked with uncontrollable internal chaos. Even if she recovered, it would likely take a long time to restore her vitality. Diff, get out here. After completing the deed, Marvin's face was surrounded by a blood-red aura, his gaze fierce and intense. Get out. His voice, like a thunderclap, echoed through the entire sacred altar. Coupled with the power of reincarnation, it unsettled the minds of everyone within the protective barrier. This Marvin isn't bad. At this rate, in less than 1,000 years, he might even qualify to compete for the Fire Spirit Elder position. Looking at the end of the first round of the competition, Second Elder Marlin smiled and nodded towards the others. The power displayed in this battle far surpassed that of a typical first-tier reincarnation expert. Hmph, old fool Marvin. Years ago, you were oppressed by our Western faction, reduced to a stray dog. Div stretched out his hand to catch the unconscious Ellen, barely sparing her a glance. A terrifying aura erupted from him, clashing directly with Marvin's momentum. Marvin was a carefree elf from the elven race, but his past experiences were far from carefree. When the three great tribes were in balance, he had been invited to join the Western tribe. However, the invitation almost cost him his life when Div attempted to have him killed. Had it not been for Little Yi's secret help, Marvin would have long since lost his head. This created a deep trust in Little Yi's commands. Your qualifications aren't enough for this, Div sneered coldly. Marvin's lips twitched, his eyes gleaming with rare, chilling malice. Since you're ready, he said, his voice cold, let's begin. As the words fell, the second battle began in earnest. You old bastard. Last time, you got lucky and escaped. This time, I'll make sure to grind your bones to dust. Div sneered, his lips curling into a mocking smile. At his command, the energy in the entire barrier trembled slightly. That's exactly what I want. Marvin's eyes grew ice-cold. His veins bulged as his smile deepened into something sinister. At the same time, he stomped his foot into the air, and a ripple of invisible flames spread outward. The intense heat and mystical energy sent a shiver through everyone's spine. Boom! The two figures instantly vanished from their positions, stepping forward and crossing into the center of the sacred altar barrier, where the battle began. Because both of them were at the first-tier reincarnation level, their powers were evenly matched. At the start, their overwhelming reincarnation forces, combined with the unique power of the fire spirit, turned into two meteors, rampaging through the barrier. Wherever they went, the air hummed, and violent energy ripples spread in every direction. Second brother, I'll go next, Little Yi whispered to Xiao, her voice tinged with concern. The battle unfolding before them was fierce, and she feared what might happen if they lost the election. Their situation would be dire. No rush, Xiao replied calmly, his gaze shifting between Princess Alice and Princess Qianqin. By the way, tell me more about Princess Qianqin of the Eastern Tribe. I have a feeling she might be even more dangerous than Alice. Xiao eyes flickered between Alice and Qianqin. With his spiritual power and keen senses, he could roughly assess their danger levels. Both Princess Alice and Princess Qianqin were top-tier figures among the Fire Spirit tribe, both in terms of grace and strength. Princess Alice exuded a faint aura of superiority, while Princess Qianqin appeared delicate, like a fragile princess. But through years of battle experience, Xiao could easily deduce that Qianqin was anything but ordinary. The most unsettling part was that his Baxia shell and some of Baxia's powers started to pulse uneasily whenever Xiao fixed his gaze on Princess Qianqin. It felt as though he was facing a formidable enemy. Princess, the human boy behind Lord Little E seems to be eyeing you. One of the reincarnation-level elven guards whispered to Princess Qianqin, frowning. It's no concern, Princess Qianqin replied with a smile, her fingers caressing the strings of her lute, a soft melody spreading from it. After all, there will be a day when I must face him in battle. The two reincarnation-level elven guards exchanged a look, but one of them spoke up, I believe you're overthinking it. Among the three of the southern tribe, only Marvin is at the first-tier reincarnation level. The other two have yet to enter reincarnation. Even if they possess the sacred flame of the Great Thousand Worlds, they're no match for Princess Alice. You should be more concerned with Princess Alice, the other guard added with a smile, already calculating the odds of Princess Qianqin's victory. Not necessarily, Princess Qianqin replied with a sly smile, falling silent as she watched the battle unfold in the sky, seemingly in control of everything. What only she knew was that while Princess Alice was strong, she had a gut feeling that Alice was no match for Xiao. After all, Xiao possessed something that even made her, at the first-tier reincarnation stage, tremble in fear. Boom, boom, boom. Just as thoughts raced through everyone's mind, the sound of frantic metal clashes filled the air, and violent reincarnation forces surged out from the sacred altar space. The terrifying explosions echoed endlessly. Everyone looked up quickly, and the entire sacred altar space seemed to distort unnaturally. The culprits were the two first-tier reincarnation-level powerhouses. Boom, boom, boom. A brown fire sword bloomed with terrifying heat in Div's hand, while Marvin unleashed a fire chain from his grasp. The surrounding space was warped under the influence of their powers, the air vibrating with explosive sounds that shook everyone to their core. Marvin's face was filled with astonishment. Clearly, this opponent's strength was nearly on par with his own. If this continued, it would only waste time. He immediately prepared for a full-force strike. Reincarnation Fire Chain. With this thought, the reincarnation energy in Marvin's body surged, spilling out like a rising tide. Brown flames wrapped around themselves without restraint, forming a 1,000-foot-long fire chain. Ancient and mysterious ripples flowed along the chain, and wherever it spread, the very void trembled. Even the energy of heaven and earth seemed to grow dim. A discerning eye could easily see that this attack was worlds apart from the fire chain Marvin used against Ellen earlier. Fire Spirit Sword. Facing Marvin's full-force strike, Diff's eyes grew cold. Brown flames erupted from his arm like a fountain, sending a chilling aura through the air. Countless brown flames then poured into the Fire Spirit Sword, turning it into a dazzling sphere of flames. The flames, like a blazing sun, traced countless brown patterns, radiating boundless heat and overwhelming pressure. Boom! As the two attacks collided, the wailing cries of countless beings filled the air. The violent forces of reincarnation wreaked havoc within the sacred altar's barrier, causing the entire formation to twist and sway. Who will win in the end? The terrifying, searing energy exchange caused the hearts of many elven experts to skip a beat.